right, the first storyteller is Lucy Frost. Lucy shares a story about things we leave behind and how some of them might be bulk items.
Please put your hands together for Lucy Frost.
Hello. Hey. Hello. One of the only things I knew about my next door neighbor is that she had tampons, lots and lots of tampons. I had only met her once briefly when I took the kids trick-or-treating. My youngest, Clark, went as Woody from Toy Story, but he had these long, beautiful, curly golden locks that I refused to cut because they were so cute. And so everyone kept thinking he was a cowgirl, and he was none too happy about that. When my neighbor, the one with the tampons, told him that he was beautiful, he said, "We're never trick-or-treating here again," and we didn't. My neighbor, the one with the tampons, I didn't know really anything about her other than that she had boxes and boxes of Super Plus Tampax tampons. And she didn't tell me that, of course. I only found out about that when I went to the estate sale after she died. And she was had always been a hermit, had recently become a hermit. I wasn't sure which. All I knew is she never left her 50s ranch-style house. And, of course, the boxes and boxes of tampons. So I go into the estate sale, and in the bathroom, there's this open cabinet, and it is just full up with these boxes. And these are like the old type of tampons where the applicator is about the size of a paper towel roll, say. Or toilet paper roll, whatever. That means each of the boxes was about the size of a small toaster. So they really filled up the place, right? And I tried to focus on the rest of the sale. I mean, being a person who no longer needs tampons. But it was kind of distracting because I was curious about those, right? So I go into the living room, and there's this couch. And I'm like, oh, that's a lovely couch. And the next thing I thought was, wait, wasn't she menopausal? And then there was a bed in the bedroom, and I thought, is a double bed too small for our guest bedroom? And also, was she just trying to recapture her youth? There were quilts everywhere, $10, $15 quilts. And I should have been thinking about whether I wanted to buy the quilts, but instead I was like, of all things to hoard, why tampons? Why? Did she just have a very bleedy family member? Or maybe she thought she was perimenopausal and that her period, like any old seventh grader, could just sneak up on her unannounced, you know? So I told my then husband, I said, I'm just going to go into the bathroom. Would it be weird if I just went in there and checked the sell-by date? So at least I'd know how old they were. And he was like, oh, yeah, that would be weird. And so I was like, well, do you think they're her daughters? Like maybe her daughter downsized from Super Plus to Super and just threw her old backstock into the estate sale. And my then husband was like, uh-huh. And I'm like, uh-huh, you agree that's what happened, or uh-huh? And he was like, uh-huh, why does it matter? So then I thought, well, I'll go ask the lady in the living room who is clearly in charge of this bargain market. But the concern was like, what if she was the daughter? What would I say? I'm so, so sorry for your loss. And also, are those your enormous tampons? So I told my husband, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to buy them, right? And then I'll take them home. I'll know what the sell-by date is. I'll know how old these boxes are. He's looking at me like I've lost my flippin' brain. And he was like, but you don't need them anymore. And I was like, well, she didn't need them anymore either. And so he said, so no, really, Lucy, you're going to buy hand-me-down tampons so that you can take them home and check the sell-by date. And I was like, no, they're not hand-me-down, they're vag-me-down. So, well, he was like, well, then if you buy them, then when we have your estate sale, and I was like, oh shit, he has a point, right? Like, could I trust my kids not to put Tampax in the estate sale? I sure as hell couldn't trust my husband because he would have thought it was funny. I ended up, he shamed me into leaving the estate sale without ever buying the tampons or uncovering the mystery, but it did prompt a series of important discussions with my kids. So I talked to my oldest son, Thomas, and I'm like, whatever you do, don't put Tampax in my estate sale. And he was like, what are you even talking about? And I was like, well, not Tampax. Obviously, I don't have Tampax, but like, if there's a vibrator in there, so help me God, I will haunt you from the grave. And he was like, oh, Mom, can't you just get rid of it before then? I was like, I'm not saying there is one. I'm just saying. And then I talked to my daughter about my post-death expectations, and I told her, you know, when I die, just put in the obituary, just say what I die from so that people don't have to be all wondering. And she was like, Mom, nobody wonders but you. And I was like, oh, no, we all wonder. But whether we do or don't, just put it in there. And she said, what if you die of ass cancer? I'm like, just put cancer in there. So I hadn't really thought about death and the after-death logistics before. I mean, I was so busy raising my kids and working that I really hadn't put too much thought into it or any thought into it. So then I started thinking, what would I want in my estate sale were I to have one? I mean, at some point. And I thought books. I mean, definitely I would want books in there, right? And the problem with having tampons is that it just, then everybody thinks about you that way, so that you're like Lucy the Bleeder. When what I really want to be known by is like Lucy the Laugher, or Lucy the Authentic, or even Lucy the Smartass, right? And also, it's like it's like if all they think about is these random items in your estate sale, has your life had value? And I started thinking, what do I want in that estate sale? So I want books. I want art. But then when I kept thinking about what else I might want, it made me very sad to think about people picking over the carcass of my life. So then I thought, you know what? Tampax is the way to go. She had it figured out because it's funny. It gets people wondering. It gets people telling stories about you. But you know what would be even better? A box of dildos.